Hello, everyone. I think we are live. So, if you're someone who feels like they've been trying to do everything to make things work in your relationship, in your dating life, in your love life in general, but you seem to make no progress, things still feel off, you still feel disconnected, unloved, no matter where you are in terms of your love journey, you are in the right place. So this is another weekly relationship Q&A live with me. I've committed in 2026 to come on here once a week live to answer any question you have related to relationships so that we can give you your happily ever after. You can turn things around in love, find the man of your dreams, keep him, have that fairy tale ending. Now, if you're new here, my name is Mireille Nicole. Nice to meet you. I hope you'll check out my channel. I have so much information to help you on your way when it comes to love. And if you're not new here, if you've been around a few times, you've watched my videos, these lives, welcome back. I am so honored that you are here. So I've been coming on, like I said, once a week now. I think this is live number 5. And the whole point of this, and I forgot to put it in the chats, a little note to remind people who come on live later to put your comments, your questions, I should say, in the chats. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, and I'm going to do this right now, actually. Hopefully my audio is okay. If you're hopping on, let me know. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if my audio is working, and we'll just get going. So I come on live once a week. Let me put this in here. And for about like 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to stay on here, see if anyone joins, see if anyone has any questions so that I can answer them, help you guys out. And I feel like last time, maybe one of my earlier lives, I was talking about why I was doing this and just creating more connection with you guys and, building the relationship between us. And it's just, we live in this world that's so, connected through machines and computers and screens and everything that it's easy to forget or to lose that human connection. And now more than ever, too, it seems like recently, I'm sure you've seen it too, like all over the news, just more and more people who are called out with these e-files. I don't even want to say the word or the name. And just so many big names and influencers and people that people trusted, like, right, these big spiritual gurus, health and wellness gurus who are being exposed. And I think like this is like the perfect opportunity for, I don't want to say normal people, let's call ourselves normal. We are all extraordinary, but people without like the big brands and the big names to really connect and help each other out. So that's my goal here with these live chats and these Q&As, so that we can have like honest conversations without all the flash and everything. And I'm saying this, it's funny because I do have this goal or this vision, and maybe not for this channel, but someone's channel out there too. Because what I've noticed is that there are no, and correct me if I'm wrong, correct me if you found one, but I haven't found one, even through my research, a YouTube channel from a female relationship coach that has, excuse me, I almost like choked on my own saliva there, that has over 1 million subscribers. Like I haven't found one. It's all the dudes that are relationship coaches, and power to them. They're doing great and everything. That are over 1 million. Like where are us females who, have such like just as powerful advice? And if you're a woman out there, like there is value in getting advice from another woman. Like I understand the logic behind wanting to hear what a man has to say and try to, understand and get in his brain. But no one's going to understand you like a woman does, right? Like another woman who's been through it, who has the same feelings and emotions, and who's been in the same situation, like in your shoes. Nothing's going to beat that. So we need to raise the women up just as much as we've been raising the men. So that's like my little side rant for the beginning of this video today. So like I've done in previous lives, I always have a theme, because if no questions come up, and I don't have any pre-submitted questions here, so I will be looking down to see if there are any questions. So hopefully that's not too distracting, me looking up and down. So I always have like a pre-planned topic. And today we're going to talk about, are you settling for too little in your relationship, in your dating life, in your love life, like all of the things. And a couple of weeks ago, I think it was maybe 2 lives ago, I did kind of like the flip side of this question where the whole pre-planned the topic of that video was, "Are you asking for too much?" Now, this is just the same, like, just the other side of the same coin, the flip side. So if you're, like, really wondering, "Am I asking for too much or am I settling for too little?" Like, go watch that video from a couple of weeks ago, watch this one first, stay live and watch this, or, if you're catching the replay, that is awesome, and then go catch the other one asking if you're asking too much. That doesn't make any sense. If you're wondering if you're asking for too much, just so you can see like both sides of it and really gain clarity on what might be actually happening in your own situation. So I'm going to cover today 3 ways to determine if you're settling for too little in your relationship. We're going to go through 3 things, and doesn't matter if I'm like talking. If you want to ask a question at any point, that's fine. Just put in the chats. And when I'm looking, I will kind of make it so that I answer your question, finish the thought of the theme. But just like, let's make this like relaxing. We're just in a room together, chilling. Imagine we're just like in our pajama pants. I could be wearing pajama pants. That would be awesome. And we're just chatting amongst girlfriends. So, the first way to determine if you are settling for too little, and I talk about this all the time and work on this with my clients all the time, is asking yourself, like, is this what you dreamed of as a little girl? So, if you're new to my world, or I think I was talking more about this in my early videos, like, one thing to know about me is that I am a huge romantic. I've always been a huge romantic since I was a little girl, and not in the sense of like always dreaming of my wedding day. I actually, as a little girl growing up, I never pictured my wedding day. Like, that wasn't what I was focused on. I was focused on the feelings that I wanted to experience and what kind of like the relationship looked like. I didn't care so much about the wedding day. I really cared about the romance. And I was always like watching romance movies. I always share that my favorite love story of all time is Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and specifically the BBC series, not the Hollywood remake of the book. I always dreamed of finding my Mr. Darcy, and I truly believe that I found my Mr. Darcy in my husband. So that's always been like my criteria, like in my relationships, is determining like, is this what I dreamed of as a little girl? And there was like a pivotal moment in one of my relationships where it was a huge wake up call for me, because what I've noticed, and I see this happen with women all the time, is that we have this dream growing up, and as we're dating, as we're getting older, as society influences us more and more, we lose that dream. We lose sight of it. We get convinced that that's just fairy tales. That's too much to ask for. That's not reality. And we start getting really pragmatic in our love lives, and I think that's valuable, right? Like, it is important to bring logic into relationships and into finding a good partner for you. And, a lot of coaches out there and people will say, come up with your checklist and write all the things down. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. I've done that once, and I realized that it got me into the trap of just dating someone from a really rational, logical level, and it was harder on the feelings perspective, right? Whereas I like to get women back into the feeling part of it. Like, does this feel like, does it bring up the emotions? And maybe you're in a spot in your relationship where things are hard, things are challenging. You don't have those butterflies anymore in your tummy, right? Maybe you had them at the beginning, but now things are harder. Now you even wonder if you're falling out of love. If you felt them at the beginning, that's an indication. And I always believe like they can come later. They can feel differently too for all people. At the end of the day, it's a knowing inside of you. There is so much, like, we don't give enough credit to our intuition. And that makes sense because a lot of times based on past traumas, either in your relationship, in your childhood, healing works that needs to be done. Like, it might be very difficult to hear that intuition or to feel, what you're feeling inside and be able to discern if this is like anxiety, if this is fear of abandonment, or if this is like a trauma bond, or if this is truly your inner compass, either guiding you towards the relationship or away from the relationship. So It's deep, it's work, and it's, like, something to really listen to and really kind of work to discern what's really your emotions and what's, actually true. And that's something obviously I work with my clients on so that we can find that discernment and really make an informed decision in terms of, are you settling for too little, or, is this really just more a relationship dynamic issue that can be fixed through, the skills and changing how you show up in the relationship. So that's a great segue actually into way number 2. So the second way to determine and try to figure out if you're settling for too little in your relationship is if the feeling of being unloved, or the bad behavior on his part, or the verbal abuse even, if that never goes away, no matter how much you've implemented the skills, you've worked on the relationship, you've gotten like expert guidance, you've gotten expert advice, like if that's not changing, and if you've done the things like consistently for a long enough period of time, that's going to be your answer, right? You should not be settling for that, because clearly if it's done right and nothing changes, this is it's never going to get better, right? Like this is your indication, it's your answer, it's your response that, you know what, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in this case. However, that being said, like, a lot of times I see this with so many women, they think they've tried everything, and a lot of times we think we've tried everything when we're actually just throwing spaghetti on the wall, or we're, like, just online looking at, memes that go by on Instagram. Sometimes it's influencers, sometimes it's just, like, people that it can be family and friends who oftentimes aren't going to be necessarily the best judges of your situation or provide the best advice, because they will be projecting onto you. Now, that's not to say, not to minimize, the advice that you get from friends and family or online. There is great stuff. Actually, if I'm saying to be careful, then like look at me, I'm providing advice and tips and coaching online. So that would be hypocritical of me. But again, you must use your discernment in this situation and in this case to make sure that you're getting the best information, and information that applies to you. A lot of times it's going to be hard, just discerning this on our own, because we all have blind spots. It's easy to just look at information, research information online, but then to really have the self-reflection and to be able to see, how we're not applying it, or how we should be applying it to our situation, like, that's a lot harder. Like, I have blind spots. I always share, I don't even do things perfectly in my relationship. I always aim for 9 times out of 10. And you know what? By aiming for 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get that clarity. You're gonna see either a shift in your relationship dynamic towards the better, or you're gonna see that things aren't moving. The bad behavior is just continuing. It just never goes away, no matter what you do, no matter what skill that you're applying, right? So that is number 2. Number 3, the third way to determine if you are settling for too little in your relationship is if you are not growing in your relationship. Now, this one might be subjective. Like maybe you're in a relationship and you're not looking to grow. You just want stability. You just want, you know, a partner. Like you can want a partner and still grow. You can still want stability and grow, but there's going to be different levels, and this is going to be personal and subjective based on what it is that you desire and what you've dreamed of as a little girl. And maybe actually you didn't dream of this as a little girl, because I know for myself, the growth in my relationship was more of an aha moment I had later on in life. And actually, it's something I kind of fell into and realized when things were going tough in my own relationship. That's when I realized, after trial and error and hitting rock bottom together, that this relationship, like love in general, is like one of the most powerful ways to grow as a human being. It's one of the biggest personal development opportunities and relational development, obviously, at the same time. And nothing's going to be more powerful than practicing the skills and switching how you show up when there's another person in the picture, right? Someone else's energy or vibe or mood that can throw you off, right? Can you still show up in your power when your partner is grumpy? Can you still have a good day when your partner makes a sarcastic remark? Can you still communicate clearly and effectively and concisely when your husband or your boyfriend is leaving like dirty socks on the floor and not picking up after himself, and it seems like you have another child in the house? Like that is when the personal development really happens. Can you stay calm and grounded during conflict? Can you look past the desire to win or to persuade or convince your partner that you're right or your point is valid, and instead just focus on the relationship and just be quiet and listen and try to understand his point of view? Like, that is so much harder. I was thinking about that today, and I don't remember why I was thinking about that today, but um, I see so many people. Well, actually, why I was thinking about that today, I just remembered, is because I've been listening to a couple different Jim Rohn YouTube videos lately, all about discipline. I listened to one about discipline, and obviously now that's all I'm served on my feed on YouTube, right? So one of these videos was talking about the difference between knowing things and then taking action. Right? Like, how come it is that some people will just know so many things and they'll research online? And now, again, more than ever, we have so much access to information, but it's still difficult a lot of times for people to implement. And I know it was difficult for me to implement certain things. And to a certain extent, some things are still harder for me to implement in my relationship than others, because life is always throwing curveballs our way. Like, you can learn all the skills and everything, but there's always going to be a new situation that pops up with your partner where you kind of have to tweak your approach a little bit, or it's extra sensitive, or it's something new you haven't thought of and it catches you off guard. And he was talking about how the difference between knowledge and action, which is what leads to the transformation, is that there's this gap. And the problem is, the gap is where people get lost. Is the gap is like hesitation, it's like fear, it's like all these things that prevent people from taking action, that leads to the transformation. People get stuck in, or they stay stuck in the comfort of not doing anything, of just because they're scared of the result. What's going to be like, even though all these tools, and watch a lot of videos on my channel, and you'll see all these different techniques and approaches, but it can be very scary to take action on those because you don't know how your partner is going to react. What if you make things worse? Like, honestly, I'm super confident that if you do the techniques on my channel, it's not going to make it worse. If it happened to make it worse, that's your answer. That's the clarity that you need to move forward and have that happily ever after. But with my clients, what I've experienced is that things actually get better, or they get what they need out of it. And I see it kind of in the same way in relationships, right? Like, and in terms of personal growth, and how it's so powerful, because I see people, all women and men, who will go to these retreats, and these meditation retreats, often Bali and whatnot, and there's you know they come back, and they're sure that's great. You can disconnect, you can like meditate and remove yourself from your conscious mind, and but the thing is, like, all the conditions are perfect there. You come back, it's like when you go on vacation. Sure, you go on vacation for a couple of weeks, you detach from work, everything's great, and you come back and you fall in your routine again. Why? Because you disconnected in an environment that's not part of your day-to-day, with all the challenges and the curveballs that life throws at you. And it's the same thing, right? Think of it as health. You go to this Bali retreat, and someone is like serving you raw vegan foods on a silver platter. Sure, it's easy to make decisions for your health when someone is kind of providing that to you, but then go home and try to do that on your own. Try to make yourself a green juice every morning, just you, and fitting that in your schedule. And the same thing in relationships too, right? Like, if you're doing all the personal development just on your own, just kind of segregated from the relationship, you're just doing your own work. And that's where I see a lot of women feel like they outgrow their partners. Like, if you're not keeping that link to the relationship, not doing the personal development with a line of sight on making your relationship better, like, that's where there's going to be a disconnect. And you're not gonna get the same level of growth anymore because you've created conditions. It's like women who, I see that a lot, right? Who want to heal before getting into another relationship. And sure, there is a level of healing that you're gonna wanna do and that you should do. But at the same time, a big part of your healing is going to happen in the relationship where when you're confronted by the actual situation, because it's going to be easy to think, more positively, not always, but slightly easier to, to have better thoughts and to communicate better when you're not in the relationship with the other person who's, you know saying something terse to you, or being rude or short. So that is my point when it comes to number 3 in terms of, growth in the relationship. And sure, maybe, that's not an aspect of the relationship that's going to be a deal breaker for you, and maybe that's not part of it, because that's the other beautiful thing too. Nowadays, I think it creates complexity in relationships, but at the same time, it creates so much freedom. Is that back in the day, and I'm not saying this was good, and I'm not saying this was healthy, I'm not saying we should go back to that, not in that same way, but back in the day, right? We There were very defined roles in terms of what women and men brought to relationships, and that could help you determine, right, a good partner. Nowadays, I mean, there's not complete equity, right? Not everything's equitable, but as women, we have a lot more opportunity. There are a lot of things that we can bring, in our life, and access ourselves, own resources that we can go after to provide for ourselves. And back in the day, we didn't. We needed the man, so we need the man to, provide a certain amount of things, and that heavily influence the relationship. Nowadays, like, men are a bonus in most cases. And I don't mean that to minimize men in the relationship. I mean that in a great, like, that's such a positive. You can actually go for who it is that you actually desire. You're not thinking, you can go towards who your heart wants you to go towards. So in that sense, that create like that's great that we have this opportunity. The flip side, where I was saying it's not always good, is that it created a scenario where it can be challenging in relationships because those definitions aren't there anymore. Those defined roles aren't there. And a lot of times there are assumptions. One of the biggest assumptions, obviously, is that, everything's going to be 50-50. And sometimes we just kind of expect things because now we live more in a 50-50 society, which is fine. But we need to have these conversations, we need to have these discussions. Hi. Okay, so we have someone here, Rohan Asir 265. Why am I the only one here? I don't know. We should invite all your friends, everyone you know. I'm excited you're here, actually. And actually, you are probably the first person to ask a question, but let's see your questions here. Like, who are you talking to if there are only 2 people here? I am talking to all the wonderful women and men. Hey, if you want to join, for sure, come online and learn. Just my content is focused towards women. So sometimes men will watch my videos and comment and be like, well, what about, well, that women do that too, and vice versa. And like, yes, I'm just talking always from the perspective of a woman's point of view. So that's why I'm not saying that things can't go both ways. I do believe there are differences between men and women. So it's not always both ways, but I'm always talking from the perspective of a woman trying to make her relationship with her man better, the best that it can be. So thank you for commenting. Thanks for opening the door. I'm super excited. I'm going to celebrate that tonight. And hopefully, yes, in the next few videos, hopefully we have more people here at the same time. I saw there were a few people that jumped on, and I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for all of you who watch even the replay. If you have questions, even after this is, like, if you're watching the replay, when this is over, you can put them in the comments and I will just respond to them during the next live. So I'm going to wrap it up because I see it's almost been 25 minutes. And other than who am I talking to? There are only 2 people here. There are no other questions for today. So just to recap, here are the 3 ways to really determine if you're settling for too little in the relationship. Number 1, if it's not totally aligned with what you dreamed of, right? And you'll get that intuitive nudge. This is where you really have to listen to your intuition. Number 2, if the feelings of being unloved or not valued or not cherished, they don't go away, even though you've applied all the skills and the approaches and you've done so as perfectly, doesn't have to be perfect, but as consistently and for long enough of a period of time for it to work and it doesn't, you see no improvement, no progress, you're probably settling for too little. Obviously, if that's happening and you haven't yet gotten professional guidance on this, I highly encourage you to work with someone first to help you determine that, to make sure you're getting the optimal information to try out and to implement. And number 3, if you don't find yourself growing through the relationship, if you find that you're stagnant, because like I said, relationships are one of the best personal development growth opportunities there are. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. I haven't decided what time I'll come on at. This is again a bit of a different time. I'm trying to see like when is the best time for people to join. I feel like I was doing lunchtime lives, but I feel like these afternoon ones are better. But let me know in the comments what you prefer. If you would like some tangible tools in terms of like action items that you can do in your relationship starting today, I will put in the description below a link to my relationship success checklist. And this is going to give you like a series of different actions that you can take every day to make your relationship more fulfilling, to feel loved again, feel heard, and feel emotionally connected to your partner. And if at any time you want more personalized support, you want customized help, I will also put a link in the description to book a coaching call with me so that we can work one on one. I can help identify what's going on in your relationship and give you a game plan moving forward. So, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care and bye for now.